Afghanistan, and this news comes just 1 year and a few days after President Obama telling the nation our combat mission in Afghanistan is ending. Fox News Chief National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin is at the Pentagon. Jennifer.
Greta, Fox News has learned tonight that a quick reaction force of reinforcements has arrived and evacuated the U.S. Special Operator killed in action and the 2 wounded Americans in the compound in Marja, Afghanistan. The crew of the disabled helicopter was just evacuated safely as well, but the rest of the U.S. Special Operations team remain in the compound to secure the damaged Pave Hawk helicopter, and the team remains in an area surrounded by Taliban fighters. More than a dozen U.S. troops and a rescue helicopter flight crew had been trapped inside a compound for hours after being attacked earlier today. The scene inside the compound, according to a senior U.S. defense official, was, quote, harrowing. In fact, 2 rescue helicopters were not able to evacuate the U.S. troops earlier today. One elite Special Operations medevac helicopter tried to land in the compound's courtyard, but we're told its rotors hit the compound walls like a scene out of the bin Laden raid. That helicopter is still grounded. The White House has previously said the number of U.S. troops would fall to 5,500 next January when the president leaves office. There are 9,800 U.S. troops currently in Afghanistan helping Afghan forces, but with the Taliban retaking parts of the country, the top U.S. commander in Afghanistan, General John Campbell, said in a recent interview that he hopes all 9,800 will stay as long as possible. Quote, every time I've gone to the president and said, I need X, I've been very, very fortunate that he's provided that. So he's been very flexible. It's actually been conditions-based as we've gone forward. Former Obama administration officials such as Mike Morrell of the CIA have predicted Afghanistan will reemerge as a major national security issue for the White House this year, and that troop numbers will have to be revisited. An AC-130 gunship was called in to provide cover during the hours when the U.S. troops were trapped in that compound. Tonight, those wounded are now safe, and a U.S. team remained behind to ensure that the damaged helicopter that was damaged as it tried to land to rescue those Americans inside that compound, that they are now out safe. Greta?
Rob O'Neill, the U.S. Navy SEAL who shot and killed Osama bin Laden, joins us. Good evening, sir.
Hello, Greta. Thanks for having me.
Rob, do you get as annoyed as I do when I think the White House on these very important issues is sort of playing us and saying this isn't combat and we just lost one person? I mean, I don't know. I mean, is this combat to you?
Well, yeah, this is totally combat. I mean, if we've got casualty evacuation helicopters coming in to assist American troops on the ground who are fighting alongside our Afghan allies and they take mortar fire, I mean, a mortar is not something that just pops out. It's there. They've been in combat near Marja and in Helmand province for the past 6 months, and the security forces there feel abandoned by the U.S.-backed government in Kabul simply because we want to say we're not in combat anymore and just call it, you know, that's what it is. It's combat there now. It will be for a long time, and every commander on the ground is saying we need to keep as many troops as we can as long as we can. This is no longer a campaign promise that needs to be ended just because we said we would. We need to keep our guys there and get it stable, or else it's going to go just back the way it was before 9/11.
So, but is that why we're there? I mean, look, the Soviet Union, they didn't do well fighting in Afghanistan. We have now spent a number of years there. I mean, if we're only going to leave 9,800 and we've already lost someone now, and there's some incredible danger, and now they're in combat, but without the backing of a lot of people, why are we still there? What's the point?
Well, I mean, there have been mistakes made as there are in every conflict, but part of the problem here started when the resurgence happened, when we admitted we were going to leave at some point. You get into a lot of problems on the ground there with the locals realizing if we're giving a timeline to the Taliban saying we're going to leave, the people with whom we're fighting side by side, they know they're going to be there with the Taliban once we leave, and it just starts to become unrest. There are ways around this, and we need a lot of better communication with the White House listening to the Pentagon.
Well, you talk about better communication with the White House listening to the Pentagon. I mean, they're too busy out trying to pretend to us that this isn't combat. They're doing so much fast spinning right now saying that it's something else. I mean, it's hard to think that they'd have a straight conversation with the Pentagon if they're too busy trying to spin this as not combat.
Well, it seems like they're trying to spin a lot of things that jeopardize national security. They're trying to spin this as no more combat in Afghanistan. We pulled out of Iraq too soon, regardless of why we were there. We're going to get rid of everyone in Guantanamo Bay because it was a campaign promise. And it seems to me that every man that had the position of Secretary of Defense, once they leave that, they say the White House is not listening to us.
Well, the president issued a statement for immediate release, December 28, 2014, which is a year and some change ago, in which he says very clearly, our combat mission in Afghanistan is ending, and the longest war in American history is coming to a responsible conclusion. I'm not saying we should stay there or leave there, but I do know one thing, is that the combat mission is not ending. It never did end, and we continue to see this.
That's just tap dancing around the giant elephant that's in the room. As long as we have troops on the ground, and they're taking mortar fire and helicopters getting banged up on the way in, requiring forces to stay on the ground to protect the people there, wounded Americans, dead Americans. That's combat. There's small arms fire, mortar fire. There's a lot of other stuff going on. There's special forces involved. This is still combat, and it will be combat, and we need to maintain a presence until we can at least help us stabilize our Afghan partners.
And not only that, I'd like to have a little candor about what we're doing and what, exactly, and not the word game. Anyway, Rob, thank you.